And we start with the reading of the word. 1 Corinthians 15:20. 1 Corinthians 15:20. Christ gave us the way. But no, Christ has been raised from the dead, and he comes before all those who have fallen asleep. A human being brought death, a human being also brings resurrection of the dead. All die for being Adam's, and in Christ all will receive life. However, each one in his own time. First Christ, then Christ's people when he comes. Then the end will come, when Christ delivers the kingdom to God the Father, after having destroyed every rule, authority, and power. For he must reign and put all enemies under his feet. The last enemy to be destroyed will be death. As the scripture says, God has subjected everything under his feet. When we say that everything is put under his feet, we exclude, of course, the Father who subjects everything to him. When the Father has subjected everything to him, the Son will place himself under the one who subjected everything to him. From then on, God will be all in all. So when we speak about prudence, we speak about a virtue, obviously, and we know that one of the most difficult things to exercise is prudence. We know how sorry we are for all the imprudences of our life, how many times we have been imprudent. And what happens with this virtue is that when we break it, it's not necessarily that we committed a sin, which is very particular, right? Not every virtue that is broken is as this one. This one is so incredibly important that even breaking it doesn't necessarily lead you into sin, but it leads you into sadness. Because you know, when you become imprudent, you know you just blew it and you didn't have to do that. And you didn't necessarily sin, but you didn't do something good. See, it's not good to be imprudent. One of the things that happens in our life before we discover prudence, is that we have to acknowledge imprudence. And a lot of people are imprudent, but they think they are prudent because they don't know prudence. As simple as that. So and this is horrible because, you know, when you begin to become spiritual, then you begin to discover that you actually didn't have any of the virtues because you didn't know them. Though you thought you were that, but you weren't. You didn't have compassion, forgiveness, you didn't have tolerance or patience, you didn't have prudence at all. You were imprudent and you thought you were doing good because you were being so open and you were speaking from your heart. People say, I speak from my heart. I just tell them like it is. I just say it just like I have it in my heart. That's one thing we have in our family. We are sincere. And this is such a big lie because it's not true. Most of the time it's cruelty. You know, people are just putting out, voicing out stuff you should never say. You know, it's like, it doesn't matter if it's the truth. It doesn't matter. You're not lying because you're not saying it. If someone comes in and is missing an eye, you don't have to say, how does it feel to be one-eye person, right? I say, I just say just like I feel it. You say, I'm truthful. See, yeah, it's true. It's true what you're saying. But do you have to say it? Oh no, you don't have to say it. so this is an incredible science. It's an incredible science. The more you learn about the science of prudence, the closer you get into the science of love. Because if you are not prudent, you are not going to be able to love. Because to love, you need charity. If you don't have charity, you'll never be a prudent person. You will be imprudent all the time because you don't care. So you tell people just like it is. Say, you don't look too pretty today. That happens a lot among girls, especially young girls, yeah, very young ones. Oh, you look terrible today. What happened to you? So, and that really affects people. If you see someone crying for a few hours, just tell them that, and they be crying because you were not supposed to tell them that. And sometimes parents do that to children. Oh, you're such an ignorant. I mean, how could you do that? And they call them children ignorant, or they call them names. They practically curse them sometimes because some children will take that seriously, and it will act against them for the rest of their lives. Something a parent told them. And all of us are victims of that. I remember things my mother told me when I was 7 years old that really affected me up until today. Something she told me really straight in my face like this: you are this. And that really hit me, really hit me, and it stayed with me. And I had a very hard time working it out in my life because that voice stayed with me, and it was like a curse. See, so imprudence is something really poisoning. And it's very important that we enter this realm of conscientization where we are going to find how imprudent we are. How imprudent. It's very important to watch our tongue. Also, imprudence doesn't necessarily always act through words. Sometimes it acts through gestures, through attitudes, body language. So we, in order to be rude, we don't have to speak. I see people that are super rude. They don't use words. They use attitudes. They just handle their body language in a very sophisticated way to hurt you. And so imprudence is expressed in many ways. Imprudence sometimes is manifested through silence. There is a silent imprudence that is deeper and stiffer than a sword. It's like there is a time when you have to speak, and if you don't, you're being imprudent, which will contradict the natural approach of prudence. Because the natural approach of prudence will tell you not to speak. But it's not about that. Imprudence is bigger than that. And prudence is deeper than that. So what we have to understand is that in order to discover prudence, we have to learn how to desire to be good. So we have to have a desire, an authentic desire in our heart to be a good person. See, you have to take a decision, very important decision in your life, and say, Lord, give me the grace to be a person that will never hurt anyone. Because I know that because of my lack of growth spiritually, I probably don't have really a lot of love. And then a lot of the things I do are surely hurting people, even strangers in the street. Who knows what I'm doing with my life? Who knows how I'm behaving? Who knows what I'm producing in other people's lives just by existing the way I am? So please help me to find a way to become a better person all the time, to work on that. That is the path that will lead you to become prudent. You will not discover prudence if you don't decide to be good. Some people think that becoming good is just a grace, and they say, oh, only by grace I can become good. Well, so that is a big excuse not to be good, because then you're waiting for grace, right? In the meantime, what are you? You're not good, because you're waiting for a grace to be good. It's like some people want to give up alcohol or smoking or who knows, or overeating, something, so they're waiting for a grace. That's the biggest lie. You can sit there forever and wait for that grace. You're not going to get it, right? There has to be a decision that you take. You take a decision and you say, Lord, this is what I want. If you want, please give me this. Because you notice that everyone that was healed by Jesus on the side of the road, Jesus always asked them, what do you want? What is it that you want? He never went and said, hey, you blind? Okay, now you're going to see. He didn't do that. Never. You don't see any passage of the scriptures where Jesus calls someone, hey, come here, you missing a leg? Or how about a new one? That wasn't the way Jesus worked, you know. Jesus was always walking by and someone will call him, Jesus, Jesus, son of David, you know, have mercy on me. And everybody, shut up, hey, wait a minute. Say, bring him over. Say, what is it that you want? I want to see. Say, I want, you can see. But this is the colloquial there. You know, Jesus is talking to you and he's asking you what you want. So it's so important that we understand this, because we have to go to Jesus and say, Jesus, I want you to give me this. I want you to give me this. And then it's up to the Lord if he wants to give you that. But if the Lord will never turn you down when you ask for something that is for goodness. Never. He will never turn you down. If you ask for something that is for your salvation, for the good of humanity, you think he's going to turn you down? He's not going to turn you down. He's going to make it happen. But that has to come from deep inside you, that desire. So it's probably so possible that most people are imprudent. It's very possible that most people are imprudent. And it's very possible that very few people, obviously, know prudence. And they don't even know they don't know prudence. See, a lot of people think they are very, well-mannered, and they behave well because they are pre-educated and they have all this formation in many aspects of their lives. Intellectual formation and a human formation where they come from good families and they taught them well, but still that is not enough. See, prudence is beyond all of that. To be prudent, it goes beyond education, beyond being in a good family, beyond being a good Catholic, beyond being this and that, all these slogans and labels that you can place on yourself. Prudence is something deeper. Prudence comes from spiritual growth into the love of God. You have to be very deep into the love of God to be prudent. Because you notice sometimes the gift of priesthood comes with a gift of prudence. You probably have seen priests that are really prudent. And you notice they are prudent. And you know why? Because one of the things that come with priesthood is the secrecy of confession, right? A priest knows and also swears in ordination that he is not to reveal anything that is confessed to him. It's a terrifying sin. They lose their gift if they do that. See, if the church proves that you violated that as a priest, they can strip you from your priesthood. That's how serious it is. So they are placed in a situation where they have to learn to be prudent. So they sort of force into prudence. I mean, meaning in a good way, because it's a gift that you have to guard. How do you guard the gift of priesthood? You guard it with prudence. That's the way you guard it. So a good priest is always a prudent person, very prudent. So they don't voice out their opinions. They don't come out with ideas all the time. They don't express themselves as to what they think and what they mean, and their opinions are not blown all over the place. They are just very much recollected, and they listen a lot, and they say very little. So in priesthood is very common that. Also in religious people, consecrated religious, that are very good, very integrate, they're also very prudent. Their vows bring them in, and then they keep this silence, this holy silence, where they are able to listen to you, they are able to contemplate life and to be prudent about everything they do. But we are all called to be that. Not only the priests or the religious, we are all called to be prudent. Because if we don't become prudent, we are not going to be able to prepare this vessel for the love of God. Because if there is no prudence, how could it be love in there? You couldn't hold the true love of God in a vessel that is not prudent. A vessel that is not prudent is a vessel with a leakage. See, nothing will be able to be held in that vessel if there is no prudence. There's a lot of holes there, and the water of the Spirit is going to flow out. It's going to leak. So we need to understand this. When we speak about perfection, spiritual growth, the most painful thing is to find out how little growth we have. And this is very important lesson to learn, because if you're not prepared for that, you will never grow spiritually. See, the first blow you receive in your heart when we talk about spiritual growth is to find out how little you have grown. That's the first blow. But it's the first big gift you receive. Because if you ever going to grow, is to discover how small you are as far as spiritual growth. So you have to beg the Lord for that growth. You have to beg the Lord to give you the anointing to really go for, and say, I want to be prudent. I want to really understand what prudence is about. Sometimes we are imprudent with our thoughts. See, if you get too involved about scrutinizing something or somebody or even God, you become imprudent, because you begin to enter in a realm of thoughts that you're not supposed to. And that becomes a mechanical operation that is going to build something. It's going to end up building something. You notice how everything starts like that? So you become imprudent in your thoughts, in your train of thought, and then you end up building something wrong. And it becomes real because you build it. You manufacture it with your thoughts because of imprudence. So you have to watch your thoughts, because you might be so imprudent with your thoughts that you are going to commit an imprudence that is going to be lethal in your life. Because the spirit of evil is an architect, and he's going to come and help you build anytime. Oh, he's a great architect. He's going to come in and say, oh, I like this. This is great, good quality material. So let's put a terrace on the left, and how about an elevator here, right? And it's going to be very sophisticated, and you're going to be so excited to see such a building. But the thing is that it's the building of doom, because what the devil is going to bring into the building is horror. And that's what imprudence produces. So it's so important to understand that people think that prudence is just practically not to act and not to say and not to express yourself. That way you are prudent. But that's actually imprudence. Because if you don't act, if you don't react, if you don't do anything, what are you doing? You're being imprudent because you're not participating. So not participating is being imprudent. If you're sitting here, it's like when they bring you to visit a person, and you come in with mom or somebody brings you to visit somebody, and you sit in there, and then you're bored. You don't want to say a word. You don't want to eat anything they give you. You're moving from one place to another. You can't find yourself on the chair, right? And all of that is going on. So everybody's uncomfortable around you. They're going to say, I think the girl is bored. So why don't you take her away? Well, see, and this is what is happening with somebody being totally imprudent. And that happens, it's very obvious in very young people, but if you don't correct that, later on you become that all the time. You will be like that. And you don't even notice that you let people know very fast you are bored, you are uncomfortable, you don't like it, you don't care, but you don't say it, you just project it. And that is a big imprudent person. And a lot of people are like that, so imprudent, and they don't even know how much they're hurting others and how much damage they're doing to their lives, because they're closing a lot of doors. See, people that are there that God placed in your life to give you an opportunity, because all of this living is a concert, it's like a symphony, and God is the director. See, if we are not a note that is in tune, we are not going to be part of the symphony. So God is always constantly placing us on a pentagram, and we're going to be occupying a space in that pentagram, and it's going to come the time when the director is going to come and that instrument is going to sound, here. And we have to be there where we belong. If we're not there, then we're not going to sound, and we're going to be off the melody, off the symphony. Then, excuse me, then what happens here is if we are not in tune with the love of God, we are off time, and a lot of opportunities in this life are not going to make it to us. A lot of doors are going to be closed. We were there at the right place, at the right time, doing the wrong thing. See, this is terrible. Why? Because of imprudence. How many times we were sitting with the perfect person in the perfect situation for the perfect opportunity, and just one imprudent act blew it completely. And we find out long after that was the person, that was the key person, that was the key opportunity, that was it for me to get this turning around that I needed in my life at that moment. But I didn't get it. Why? I blew the grace because of imprudence. And so it is a great science. We need to master this science of prudence. It's very important. Parents with children. Think about grandparents. I just became a grandfather, just recently. Thank you. So, my oldest son has his first son, and then my first grandchild is a boy, and I was thinking about them and thinking about me, and I say, wow, what a responsibility to be a grandfather, because you have to be the most prudent person in the world in order to be a good grandfather. Imagine an imprudent grandfather is horrifyingly ugly, because they demand from the parents, but they demand more from the grandparents, right? Obviously, because you're supposed to be grown up for real. You're supposed to, grandpa is a big word. Grandma, granny is a big word. So you have to acknowledge that, and you have to wear that garment, and you have to know what that means and what it is. So you have to be responsible for that. What is the number one leading spirit of grandparents? Prudence. Oh, an imprudent grandfather could blow it in a way that you can never imagine. It will affect generations because it will hurt people really badly. That's why we have to acknowledge who we are and our role in this life. Our role. See, you take a doorman in a hotel or whatever in a building, and the doorman, if the doorman is good, that doorman is perfectly dressed, is meticulous about his work, is punctual, is kind, and is firm, and is very disciplined. And that doorman knows everything that goes on in that place. Everything. Who came in, at what time, who they are, what they are doing, in what floor they are in, everything they know. The doorman knows. They has to know. A good doorman, right? So when you have this type of doorman in your life, you are proud of that doorman, and you're confident of that doorman, because you know it's a good doorman, and you feel safe with that doorman, because that's the way he's supposed to be, a good doorman. So that is what we are supposed to be in our lives, a good doorman of our life. See, we are guarding that gate, and we are to be meticulous about it. We are to be well presented. We have to wear the uniform. We have to be disciplined. We have to be totally aware of every move that is related to our post. Every move. Because we have to be that professional. We have to be that good. So if I am the doorman of grandparenthood, I have to be a good one. See, I have to wear that garment, that uniform. And I have to know exactly who comes in and out, at what time and when, and everything that's going on in my family. I have to be aware of, because I am the doorman of that parenthood. See, if you put this in every aspect of your life, you know how you have to be. If you see a soldier that is placed in a park to guard the park, but you see the soldier sits down on the sidewalk, put the machine gun on the side, pulls the cigarette out, opens the shirt like this and starts smoking, you feel unsafe. You say, who's guarding us? That guy? Gee, we're going to be killed by the next one that comes around. You see, you wouldn't trust a soldier like that. But if you have a soldier there guarding the park and his uniform, his guns are there, and he's stopping everyone. Who are you? Where are you going? Wait a minute. Come here. Tell me all about it. Then you know there is a cop there, there's a policeman, there's someone guarding there. And then this person is doing his job. He's doing what he is to do. And it's so important in life to understand that. That is called prudence. Prudence is being responsible. Prudence is being loyal. Prudence is being disciplined. Prudence is being firm. Prudence is being honest. That's what prudence is about. So sometimes when I counsel people that are going to get married and they have a relationship going for a while, I tell them, well, one time I was in Sagarolo, a little city close to Rome, and I went there with a known friend of mine to visit the priest. And the priest was not feeling good that day, and he had to speak to this group of people that were preparing for marriage. All these couples, they were in premarital preparation in the church. So they had a very important reunion that night. They were very close to the weddings. And so the priest told me, oh, I'm glad you came, because you're going to be able to replace me now, because I cannot go there. And I went to speak to these people. I had to completely make it up there from what he told me. And one of the girls stand up and say, when questions came up, and say, I just want one thing from you, only one thing. And I think that's going to help all of us. He said, what is the most important key element to discover in your partner that is going to make it or break it? See, what is it? What is that is going to make it or break it? And I was hit right in the chest. I'm going, for a lifetime. What is it? And what came out of my chest, my chest right there, was prudence. Say, if you have an imprudent person, there's going to be a lot of trouble, a lot of problems in your life. Because imprudence brings dishonesty. Imprudence brings violence. Imprudence brings all kinds of uncharitable events, a lot of things like that. So if your partner is imprudent, you have to work on that. That doesn't mean that you cannot fix it, because all you have to do is confront it and say, listen, everything is very good, but there's something that has to be changed. If we don't change this, it's not going to work. I'm not going to go for it. And it's that you are a very imprudent person. And you probably are not aware. You probably don't know prudence. So if that is not clarified, then you are in trouble, because there's a lot of problems. Same thing happens if you're hiring someone to work for you. If you want to work for somebody, and if the first thing that is in your face is the imprudence of a person, that's going to be a rough territory. It's going to be a place where things are not going to work well. And this is so important to discover, to find out. So sometimes we don't understand that very small events in our life turn to be gigantic problems. See, especially in relationships, when people are preparing for marriage, a lot of things are overlooked. A lot of things are forgiven, so to say. It's like I see women or men that have a couple, a partner that they think, oh, she's going to change, with time, because I know she's going to change. Because people are telling, hey, watch out, look, we have observed. Yeah, I know, it's very, but We have to give it a chance. It's going to change, I know. Oh, you see, this is the first mistakes you make if you don't make sure that these kind of problems that are there are not fixable, right? Some things are really tough. They come, they are so innate in the person that they are a second nature. So it will be very imprudent for you to venture into that journey. Very imprudent, because you knew all along. It's like it will be very imprudent to stay in something that you know is a sin and you're still doing it. Though you know it is a sin. It's something you're not supposed to do. It will be very imprudent to stay in something that is really negative, really bad, really wrong in your life, and you're still there doing it. It's very imprudent. And imprudence leads an open path for the enemy to destroy you, because he can use that against you all the time. Look all the gossiping that can be built around you just from your imprudence. You gain a lot of problems, and you give a lot of wood to the fire of the enemy, to the tongue of the enemy, if you are imprudent, because they have a place to pick from. If you wouldn't have opened your mouth like that, or if you wouldn't have done what you did, they wouldn't be able to pick on you. So that's why imprudence is so difficult, so stiff, so serious, so dangerous, so poisoning. So I'm going to ask the Lord for His word to do a closing to all this day of reflections. And I'm going to read from 2 Corinthians 4:16. It says, "We long for our heavenly dwelling. Therefore we are not discouraged. On the contrary, while our outer being wastes away, the inner self is renewed from day to day. The slight affliction that quickly passes away prepares us for an eternal wealth of glory, so great and beyond all comparison. So we no longer pay attention to the things that are seen, but to those that are unseen. For the things that we see last for a moment, but that which cannot be seen is eternal." Amen. Amen. Yes.